3, 2, 1.
Here we go!
Hello guys, what is up and welcome back to the Sports Shift with me, Ian Marquez. It's been 16 long days since we've had Premier League action, but there's no more international break, there's no more FA Cup, the Premier League is back, and I can't wait to get into it. Let's get started. After that long hiatus, these are our fixtures this week. Arsenal welcome Fulham. Wolves will be hosting West Ham. Man United travel to third place Nottingham Forest. Bournemouth look forward to Ipswich. Aston Villa travel to Brighton. Struggling Leicester go to Manchester City. Newcastle host Brentford. Southampton, as they pack their bags to return to the Championship, they'll host Crystal Palace. We have another Merseyside derby on our hands, and Chelsea welcome Spurs. So how about some predictions? Well, here you have it. Starting off the week, Arsenal have been struggling to create chances. I know Fulham went out disappointingly in the FA Cup to Crystal Palace, but I think it's going to be a bit of a cagey game. I mean, I know Saka is back fit and available, but will he start? You know, Arteta loves those mind games, so I think if he says Saka is available, it means he probably won't start. But they definitely missed Saka on corners, which has used to be Arsenal's strength. Now, I can't tell you the last time they scored a corner. And on the other side, Fulham can be difficult to break down, and we know Fulham can pack a punch on their given day. So that being said, I think both teams will score. Arsenal typically keep a clean sheet every other game. They kept one last time out against Chelsea, so I don't think they keep one this time. And I think it's a very simple 1-0 draw. Moving along swiftly, Wolves will be hosting West Ham. Wolves just looking to cement their place in the Premier League next season. Unless they completely fall apart, I think that will be pretty secure. That being said, you don't play Southampton every week. I know how comfortable they looked against Southampton. It was a very comfortable win. Sean Larson scoring 2 goals. That being said, West Ham are a much better team than Southampton. They're prem proven. They have the likes of Jared Bowen, Lucas Paqueta, Mohamed Kudus. They also have Nicholas Fulcrum back from injury after that long time out, just looking to find his feet at West Ham, get some games under his belt. And I think West Ham take 3 points. I mean, Wolves don't really have much to play for. They don't have Matheus Cunha. They got another win, which probably would be enough to secure their place in the Premier League next season. So I just think they don't have enough quality, and West Ham take 3 points. They've been a little more consistent under Graham Potter, and I think that continues. Now we have third place Nottingham Forest welcoming Manchester United. And Nottingham Forest are coming off of that 120-minute outing against Brighton, eventually prevailing on penalties. Once more, they seem to love a penalty shootout. That being said, it's quite a short turnaround between that long game. It was a very difficult game against Brighton, end to end, and hopefully Manchester United can take advantage of it. Will they? I mean, you never know what to expect with Man United. I think they will create a few chances, especially since Chris Wood is very doubtful. He's going to be a huge miss for Nottingham Forest, as you could see he was on the weekend. But Nottingham Forest still pack a punch, the likes of Hudson-Odoi, Gibbs White, Anthony Elanga coming back to play his old team. And United's defense is by no means solid, so I think both teams have chances, and I think both teams score. So once more, I'm going with a 1-0 draw. Is it a little biased? Maybe, considering it's the team in the bottom half playing the team in third. But, you know, Forest have been a little wavering over recent weeks, and after putting a lot of effort into that FA Cup quarterfinal, I think there's a chance for United to come and put on a good display at least. For that, we have struggling Ipswich traveling to Bournemouth. Not much to talk about here. I think this game is an absolute whitewash. I think Bournemouth scored at least 4 goals. It's going to be very similar to the game at Ipswich against Nottingham Forest, where it was a 4-2 game, a lot of goals, but Nottingham Forest were never really in doubt of taking 3 points. And I think it's going to be the same situation here. If you're a betting man or looking to change your fantasy, I'd be looking to go heavy on Bournemouth. I think the likes of Evan Nilsson, Patrick Kluivert, Patrick Kluivert if he's playing. Justin Kluivert will be ones to watch. Definitely think they'll have a lot of chances, and both are in good form, so I can easily see both getting the goals. Continuing, you have Brighton hosting Aston Villa. This one is a little more interesting. Both teams played in the FA Cup over the weekend. Only Brighton playing extra time, and after that long hard-fought match suffering in penalties, they'll be welcoming Aston Villa. And some might think, okay, well, Brighton would tend to be the more tired team. Aston Villa are doing better than them this season. However, Aston Villa have their eye on the Champions League fixture against PSG next week. And I think they're definitely focusing on that. I mean, yes, they want a Champions League spot. They're right in and about it as well. But the Premier League is just so unpredictable that I think Brighton will have enough to edge it out in this one. I don't know, maybe it's a gut feeling. Brighton are at home. So I'm going with Brighton. No unsureties about this one. Man City are about to obliterate Leicester. Yes, Erling Haaland went off injured against Bournemouth. He will be out for this game and for almost the entire rest of the season. He may be back for Club World Cup and a few games at the end of the season, but probably won't risk him once their place is secured. But the only Erling Haaland, Leicester are just so bad. Ruben Nistelrooy has so limited options, and City have Marmoush, Savinho, Doku, Bernardo Silva, Phil Foden, Kevin De Bruyne. So many options, and when they're going to dominate the ball in a game like this, it's just going to be a very long day at the office for Leicester. I mean, Jamie Vardy has scored against City quite a few times, but there's no service, there's no cohesion, there's just a lack of quality, really and truly. And Leicester's future is basically secured. You could argue that they're probably the worst team in the league right now, even though they sit above Southampton. Let's continue with Newcastle. Newcastle will be welcoming Brentford. Newcastle fresh off that Carabao Cup victory, a very dominant display versus Liverpool, and they'll be looking to continue their fine form along with the hands of Alexander Isak. Brentford coming off an away win against Bournemouth, which is no easy feat, and they've looked a lot better away from home. It's actually been quite impressive. That being said, I think Newcastle just have too much quality. Yes, I know you can't count out Brian Mbeumo, Johan Wissa. They'll fight hard, they're pretty clinical, they'll create one or two chances. I just think Newcastle are so well rounded. That midfield of Joe Linton, Bruno Guimaraes, and Tonali is exceptional. They're industrious, they cover so much ground, the work rate, and then they have the talent on the ball as well. Newcastle is in fine form, and I think the sky is the limit for them. I definitely believe that it's probably going to be a pretty dominant win for them. Speaking of dominant, Crystal Palace with a very impressive win against Fulham over the weekend. They will be travelling to the coast to play Southampton. Southampton bags are packed. They know they're going back to the Championship. They're playing for pride. Sometimes you can get a few good performances due to that, but this Crystal Palace team is just in such fine form. I don't see how they don't run route against Southampton. You have Mateta is back. You have Ibiza Eze fresh off of scoring once more in the FA Cup. Ismaila Sarr once more in the goals. Dan Minoz at wing back. Even Eddie Nketiah getting in among the goals. They're just in such fine form, they're flying high, and I think they run route against the Southampton side. Continue, we have the Merseyside derby. Everyone remembers what happened at the final Merseyside derby at Goodison. Tarkowski with a last minute equaliser, sending the crowd wild. It was a huge game, and Liverpool will be looking for revenge for that game as well as the Carabao Cup final. The talking points of their season had just completely flipped after they exited Champions League, then a very poor performance in the Carabao Cup final. They're going to want to go on a little run just to show that they're still that guy. Everyone knows they're going to win the Premier League, but it's all about perception, you know. So I think they come with vengeance, and I don't think it's close. I think the likes of Salah and Gakpo obliterate Everton, and it's a pretty dominant display. I know David Moyes has been doing quite well, but the disparity in quality is immense, and I think Liverpool show it. Our final game of the week, which will be played on Thursday, is Chelsea welcoming Spurs. This game is always full of fireworks, a lot of goals, a lot of action. Two teams that have been struggling defensively. but can always create 1 or 2 chances. That being said, I don't think it's going to be as high scoring as people expect. Spurs haven't really been creating too many chances, and they've been a bit better defensively. I know that doesn't say a lot because they were so poor previously, but I just think it's going to be like a little 2-1. I chose Chelsea because they have Nicholas Jackson back, Cole Palmer's fit, and I know he's been asleep for a couple of weeks, but I think he finally wakes up against Spurs. He'll be creating chances, Jackson will be stretching the line, Spurs play a high line, and I think Chelsea win pretty comfortably actually. So how about some stats? Well, as you can see, any team that is playing a relegation threatened side is going to have a high chance of scoring, as well as teams that just have a very potent attack or playing a weak defense. So the likes of Man City and Bournemouth playing Leicester and Ipswich, there's no surprise there. Then Chelsea and Liverpool with very strong attacks. Chelsea are playing a weak Spurs side, and Liverpool and Newcastle just have been in amongst the goals all season, so there's no surprise that all these teams are expected to score at least 2 goals. And finally, Arsenal, Brighton, Crystal Palace, just under 2 goals because either their opposition is weak or they have very creative attacks. It's pretty simple. At the end of it, Fulham at the bottom, Everton very low. They're playing good teams with very solid defenses. If you look on the clean sheet odds, Arsenal, as usual, at the top of the table because they have such a good defense. It doesn't really matter who they're playing because we know Fulham does create a few chances, but Arsenal are just so solid defensively. On the other hand, Man City, not very great defensively, but they're playing a very, very weak Leicester side who just don't create anything. And so there's no surprise they're second in the table. Liverpool, probably the second best defense overall. And with a team like Everton that struggles to create, of course they'd be above 40%. So you can see these projections based on clean sheet, based on goal projections, and all you have to do is take the best player from each team or the player most likely to score, utilize those odds, and you can make some great projections. In light of Erling Haaland's injury, Marmoush tops the charts. He's playing a very weak Leicester side. He'll probably be leading the line, so no surprise here that we expect him to score. Behind him we have the likes of Isak and Salah, ever present in fine form this season. Then Mateta against bottom of the table Southampton, Cole Palmer against a weak Spurs side, and the Bournemouth boys Kluivert and Evan Nilsson against a very poor Ipswich team. If you're a betting man, if you're playing fantasy, utilize these charts because over the course of the season usually the stats add up and it does make sense. In a one-off it's pretty unpredictable, but go with a gut feeling and let's make some bets. So here we have our Prem picks. Well, I've gone for Mo Salah and Marmoush playing a weak Everton side. Liverpool out for vengeance. Salah has been in a bit of a drought by his standards. Marmoush coming off a very impressive Manchester City game against Brighton. I know there was a long break, but he's been really good and he'll be leading the line in place of Erling Haaland. So I'm sure he'll get plenty of chances and I'm optimistic that he'll be in among the goals. Beecher Eze, I just have a gut feeling. He's been in fine form. He was playing great for England. He got a goal over the weekend in the FA Cup against Fulham. And he's playing Southampton. He's been taking his long shots again. They've been finding the net. I just think that creativity continues. He'll also be able to get assists for the likes of Mateta. So no surprise that I have him in the long shot. When it comes to the yellow cards, we have Idrissa Gueye, Merseyside derby. What more do I need to say? Liverpool have such an immense midfield. McAllister, Szoboszlai, Gravenberch, they cover so much ground, they work really hard, they're so dynamic. He's going to have to take a fall for the team, stop a counter attack of some sort. So it's just a matter of time that Idrissa Gueye gets the yellow card. Similarly with Diogo Dalot, he's playing against Nottingham Forest. This game may not be as dynamic, but the likes of Morgan Gibbs-White, such a powerful runner, Anthony Lange, Callum Hudson-Odoi, so quick, so tricky and shifty, and Dalot is not the best defender on his best days, so I wouldn't be surprised if he gets either beaten or he's recovering from going forward so high. And I mean, he's always prone to a foul and inevitably a yellow card. Now Marco Cucurella, similarly, he loves to get forward. He's always out of position. I mean, he might score a goal here or there as a result, but on the flip side, if you have someone like Kulusevski or Brennan Johnson running, it's a lot of ground to make up. They're pretty quick players, and sometimes you just don't feel like covering all that ground, so you're just going to take a foul high up the pitch. It might be cynical, it might be stopping a counter-attack if you lost the ball, and although he's in good form, I mean, everyone's happy to take a yellow card. So those are those picks. Now it's time to the full-time results. Well, 3 of these teams will be playing relegation-threatened sides. That's Crystal Palace against Southampton, Man City against Leicester, and Bournemouth against Ipswich. On the other hand, Liverpool, they're top of the league for a reason. I think they'll have no trouble dispatching Everton, and I think it's a pretty safe pick. So let me know if you guys are ready with these picks. If you guys think I'm crazy, let me know. So that's going to do it for this video, guys. If you haven't already, be sure to like and subscribe. Definitely helps out the channel. Otherwise, enjoy this weekend's action and see you guys later.